So all of these are thyroid follicles. And the little dots you see here, these are the nuclei of the follicle cells, which again make up the wall of the follicle. So the follicle cells, what do they secrete? T3 and T4. And again, you may use the proper abbreviations, the ones I have on that handout that I gave you. Not something of your own manufacture, all right? You use the ones I give you in bold, that's acceptable, all right? So you can say triiodothyronine or thyroxine, you can just say T3 and T4. Capital T, and then subscript, 3 or 4. So these secrete T3 and T4. What do T3 and T4 do?
Regulate your basal metabolic rate.
Okay, they adjust your basal metabolic rate, which basically is the rate at which you burn calories. When it's accelerated, you burn calories very rapidly. When it's slowed down, you burn them more slowly. And often when we get older, people have trouble. Either they produce too much thyroid hormone or too little. If they produce too much, that's hyperthyroidism. You burn calories very rapidly, and you lose weight. Which may sound good, but especially when you're older, maybe your fighting weight, all right? But it's not so good because it also speeds up your heart rate. And the reason what can happen, of course, in elevated heart rate, tachycardia, you can go into fibrillation. Also have trouble thermoregulating. You're hot all the time. You just can't get comfortable. So it's not really that good. And then you've got to deal with the thyroid. Either you take a thyroid hormone antagonist, which shuts down T3 and T4 production. If that doesn't work, then you either surgically remove the thyroid, or you basically treat it with radioactive isotopes, I-131, because you need iodine basically to make the thyroid hormone. What that does, it's taken up this radioactive isotope by the thyroid and zaps the thyroid. Kills it, basically. But if that's your treatment, then you have to avoid all people because you're radiating and you can zap other people's thyroids, especially children.
Oh my goodness.
Really? So if you
Yes,
get
really.
your thyroid zapped, then you can like walk by something.
Right, so you're dangerous to be around. So basically you're a pariah. Basically you go somewhere else.
For
Stay
how
away from your
long?
family.
Whoa.
Don't hug your children. Stay away from your significant other.
For how long?
Well, for at least several weeks until this thyroid therapy is completed.
Wow.
Half-life?
And the other alternative I said is surgery. To remove the thyroid. The other is hypothyroidism, where you don't produce enough, and then practically looking at food, you can put on weight because your metabolic rate slows way down. You put on those extra pounds, and now you're freezing all the time because you can't thermoregulate. Your heart slows down, bradycardia, so again, it's not very pleasant. So once you've lost your thyroid, or if the thyroid's not functioning, then you're going to be on thyroid hormone the rest of your life.
My goodness. Wow.
So, something to look forward to when you get older. Enjoy your youth, okay? You don't have it forever. But remember, you pay for your sins. Your body reminds you how you treated it. Okay, there's also some other tissue here. This is tissue between the thyroid hormones. Now these cells are called parafollicular cells. They produce another hormone. What is it? Oxytocin?
Oh,
Calcitonin, okay. How about calcitonin?
Yeah, sorry.
Okay, and be careful. We got calcitonin, we got calcitriol. Calcitonin is the hormone produced here. Calcitriol is vitamin D3. Okay?
Sorry.
And not oxytocin, all right? That's pituitary. A little ahead of the game here. What does this hormone do?
Calcitonin takes calcium out of the blood, restores the bone.
Right. It inhibits osteoclast activity. Remember, osteoclasts are the bone-eating cells.
Yeah.
And basically, you take a lot of calcium ions out of the blood, and you form calcium salts in your bone matrix, part of your inorganic bone matrix. Okay? Make that distinction. Also, these hormones, T3 and T4, are secreted here into the interior of the thyroid follicles in complex and protein collar, and that is called thyroglobulin, which is on your handout there. So it's stored here until needed, the T3 and T4, and then released into the blood. Okay? And associated with the thyroid, or these little patches of tissue, which look distinctly different, look rather granular. What is this?
Parathyroid.
That's the parathyroid. Like little islands of tissue surrounded by the thyroid. And the major cell type here
Chief
is called what?
cells.
Very good. It's a chief cell. unfortunately, because we also have chief cells, remember the gastric glands that secrete the enzymes. What do these guys secrete?
Parathyroid hormone.
Very good, real tough one. Parathyroid hormone secreted by the parathyroid gland. What does it do?
The opposite of calcitonin.
Increases calcium uptake by
It
stimulating.
lowers calcium levels in the blood, okay? It breaks down some of the bone matrix, you get calcium to those calcium salts. It also serves the kidneys to basically reabsorb more calcium, and re-infiltrate. It also stimulates the kidneys to produce calcitriol, vitamin D3, which helps to absorb more calcium from the food in your intestine. Okay? So the net effect is to elevate calcium levels in the blood. Yes?
No, you got me.
Okay?
That's my question.
Now there's another cell type in here. They're few and far between, but they're a little bit bigger than the other cells, the chief cells. Now most of them are chief cells, and most of those circular structures of the nuclei are chief cells. But here and there, you have the other cell type that you'll see. And you see some of them right in here, little cluster. What are these cells called?
Oxyphil.
Oxyphil cells. And what do?
Function unknown.
Very good. Function unknown. I don't know. So if I ask, you can put function unknown. Don't put a line through it. Don't put a question mark. Indicate you know, I don't know what the function is. All right? That's an acceptable answer on this one. Oxyphil cells. Function unknown. Okay? There's only one other place you can use it.
Which one of the oxyphils do you point to the one that's done?
They're the ones in here.
The ones that have a different shape than the rest?
Well, they're a little bigger, they got more cytoplasm, so they're a little more spaced out. The nucleus, they look like little islands in here, surrounded by the chief cells. Okay.
All right.
Okay. Any other questions on this? Thyroid or parathyroid? All right. Let's look now at the pituitary gland. Now the pituitary is divided into regions. There are two major regions which I would like you to be able to identify: the anterior and the posterior region of the pituitary. And they look distinctly different. And you can see on the left is the posterior pituitary. On the right of the field is the anterior pituitary. Now the posterior pituitary, by the way, another name for pituitary is hypophysis. The anterior pituitary, the posterior pituitary is largely nervous tissue. Remember, the pituitary is attached to the hypothalamus, the brain. There's a thin stalk of tissue called the infundibulum, which is to the hypothalamus. So what you see here is mostly nervous tissue. And the hormones associated with the posterior pituitary are produced by axons extending from the hypothalamus. They actually produce and secrete the hormones into the posterior pituitary, where they're stored, and then released from there into the blood. And what are those hormones?
Oxytocin.
Yeah.
Okay.
ADH.
Oxytocin and ADH. Okay. What does ADH do?
Inhibits.
Well, first of all, what does ADH stand for?
Anti-diuretic hormone.
Okay, which means it inhibits diuresis, which is urine production. Okay. So what it does basically is cause the kidneys to retain more what? What? Retain more water.
Yeah.
Okay. And thus produce, yes, less urine, antidiuretic. It's also called vasopressor. Why? ADH.
Because it's a vasodilator.
Just the opposite. Vasoconstrictor. Which means when you constrict the blood vessels, what happens to blood pressure? You
Increases.
elevate it. Okay, it's like in a flow of fluid, you suddenly put it through a smaller pipe, what's going to happen? The pressure is going to go up. Okay? So it's a potent vasoconstrictor. In fact, when we have a major blood loss, the pituitary dumps a lot of ADH in the blood. What this does is cause vasoconstriction, helps to maintain blood pressure so you keep getting up to your brain. Otherwise, you're in trouble. Okay? And what does oxytocin do?
It stimulates the positive
Smooth
feedback
muscle
system
for labor
of the.
contraction.
Stimulates smooth muscle contraction, okay? Smooth muscle contraction. So it's very important in labor and delivery, okay? And what else?
The release of milk.
Say again?
The release of milk. It stimulates the
Okay, release of milk, milk letdown, not production of milk, but the release of milk from the breast shortly after birth, okay? That's oxytocin. And again, it's not produced by the cells you see here, because these cells are largely what?
glial cells.
These are glial cells. They have a fancy name. What do they call them?
The
Pituitary, okay? Pituitary. You see the nuclei of these. Again, they're not the cells that produce the hormones. It's axons from the hypothalamus neurons that are extending down. Remember, the axon doesn't contain the nucleus of the cell. That's in the neuron cell body.
So you can't see the
You can't
cell.
see those because those will be up in the hypothalamus. Okay? Remember, the axon extends from the cell body. And that can be very long.
So if you were to point to one of those and say,
What
what
one of
is
these,
this?
what is it? You say pituitary.
Yeah,
How do you spell that? Suicide.
to a second.
It's like a cell.
Suicide, okay.
Right. Type of glial cell. Okay. Now, in the anterior pituitary, this is mostly glandular tissue. So this is called the adeno hypothesis versus the neural hypothesis of the posterior pituitary. Again, the colors aren't very good. You can see it better on the microscope, but we got two major cell types here. And you can distinguish them on the basis of the color of the cytoplasm, not the nucleus, but the cytoplasm. Okay? So we have cells that have a pink stained cytoplasm. We have cells that have a darker kind of purple stained cytoplasm. Again, I can't show the colors too well here because I lose a lot of contrast when I run it through the projector. You see a lot of these cells here have a pink colored cytoplasm, not the nucleus, that is purple, but the cytoplasm. What kind of cells are these? Acidophil cells, okay? What hormones do they produce?
Growth hormone and prolactin.
Okay, human growth hormone, which indirectly stimulates growth. It stimulates production of what are called insulin-like growth factors by muscle, liver, and various other cells, bone, and so on. That's what actually stimulates the growth, protein synthesis, and so on. Okay? And that, of course, then determines the growth of the individual in height, not this way. And that's very important during growth, when your bones are growing longitudinally. Underproduction, of course, would result in a shorter individual. Overproduction, a taller individual. Master production would be a giant, and minimal production, a midget. Okay? After growth in length has ceased, you got overproduction, then you have a condition known as acromegaly. Acromegaly still stimulates bone growth, but it's usually a thickening of various bones, particularly facial bones like the mandible, and you get these extended brow ridges, and the fingers and toes tend to be enlarged, and you lose a lot of manual dexterity, and also the tongue often enlarges, and some of the internal organs as well. So the individual looks distinctly different, often rather grotesque, and often have trouble speaking clearly because the tongue is so large. And like I say, with the big fingers and so on, it may make it difficult as far as manual dexterity is concerned. So that's called acromegaly. Overproduction of growth hormone after bone growth has ceased. So that's basically an adulthood. And prolactin, that should be obvious. What does it do? Promotes lactation. Milk secretion by the cells in the breast. Alveoli. Okay. Then you've got these purple stained cells. That is purple nucleus, purple cytoplasm. What are these cells called?
Basophils.
Make sure you call them basophil cells, not basophils. These are not white blood cells, okay? They look a little bit, perhaps, like a basophil, but call them basophil cells. Now, they produce a wealth of hormones. And most of the hormones produced by the basophil cells actually stimulate other endocrine glands to release their hormones. So what do we have? What's one of these stimulating hormones?
Thyroid stimulating.
Thyroid stimulating hormone, which stimulates the thyroid release T3 and T4. Okay, what else?
Follicle.
Which one?
Follicle stimulating hormone?
Say it again.
Follicle stimulation.
Follicle stimulating hormone, what does it do? In females, what does it do? Stimulates follicle development.
As
Okay?
well as for the follicles when they're developed to produce estrogen.
And in the male, what does it do?
Yes. No. Oh, yeah, was it sperm?
It is supposed to.
Spermatogenesis.
Yes.
Very good, spermatogenesis. Right.
Look at you, man.
Okay, we got another one, regulating hormone. What's that? Associated with the reproductive system. Luteinizing hormone, LH. Okay, what does it do in the female? Stimulates, yes, estrogen production and progesterone, and it's also associated with ovulation. And we'll talk about that when we discuss the menstrual cycle. Okay? And in males, what does it do?
Testosterone production by the interstitial cells.
That's right, it stimulates testosterone production by the interstitial cells, which is why it's also called interstitial cell stimulating hormone. Okay? In the male. Okay, so that's 3 hormones. What else do we have?
Um,
ACTH?
yeah,